Hi everyone, I'm Mrs. Simmons. Today I'm going to work with you on one of the activities in your math second grade summer edition activity kit. I hope you're enjoying your Cumberland at home activities so far. The video is going to show you how to do two different activities using what is called a hundreds board. I'm sure you've seen a hundreds board before in your classroom with your teachers. And why is it called a hundreds board? That's right, because it counts all the way up to 100. There's going to be a few materials that you need for today. So after I tell you the materials, if you'd pause the video and come right back when you're ready, I'll still be here. So what you're going to need out of your kit, you're going to need the hundreds board activities directions. There are 2 pages, but you really only need the first page. You're also going to need the hundreds board itself. There are 2 in your kit. We'll get to the other one later in the videos and what you're going to do with that one. So if you would go get these 2 pieces of paper, hold on, I'm not done, your transparent counters and your pennies. If you would pause the video and go get those, then we can get started. Great, told you I would still be here. So today we're going to review a couple of concepts that I know you worked on in your classrooms. And just to make sure that you remember what they were, because in the summer, sometimes we forget some of the things we learn. So the first one is the concept of odd and even numbers. So if you kind of think back to the school year and what was an odd number, what was an even number? The way I like to think about it is, do things pair up equally? So we're going to look at some vocabulary words, meaning can we put things into equal groups? Is it an even number or does it become an odd number? So if you look at your hundreds board and just kind of work with me for a second, we're only going to look at our first row. So if you look at the first row, for example, think of the number 5. As a teacher, this happens often to me and I have to think, do I have an even number of students or do I have an odd number of students? If my number is even, then each student will have a partner if I choose to do a partner activity. If I have an odd number of students, one student is going to be left out, and that's going to be an odd man out. And I don't really want that to happen unless I can avoid it. So let's look at our numbers. If we look at 2, obviously that one's kind of easy. That's an even number, right? If we look at 3, if I say pair up and there's 3 students, there's going to be a what? An odd man out. So that's an odd number. If I look at the number 4, think about that for just a second. You're right, everyone has a partner, so that's an even number. If I look at 5, it's going to be an odd man out. If I look at 6, everybody has a partner, even number. If I look at 7, there's going to be an odd man out, so that's an odd number. 8, even. 9, odd man out. So you kind of notice a pattern, I'm pretty sure, in that first row of numbers. That's going to help you with our activity today. Now, to do this activity, all you need are the supplies that I told you to gather, and you can do this with a partner, a friend, a brother or sister, grandparent, mother, father, whoever you have in your home, or you can do it like I'm doing it by myself. So what you're going to do is, we're not going to use that first row because we're in second grade. We're actually in third grade. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the numbers from 30 to 50. Those are the only numbers we're going to talk about today. Now, you're probably thinking, Miss Simmons, we only looked at the first row. If you remember back, there's a trick I'm sure your teacher taught you, which is to look at the number that is in the ones place if you have a number with more than one digit. For example, if I look at 23, that wasn't in my first row, but the number in the ones place is a 3. And if I remember what I think in my head, if there are 3 students, does everyone have a partner? Nope, there's an odd man out. So that means that 23 is an odd number. Let's do another one. 26. I can't think right in my head if 26 students are in a room, are they all going to have a partner? But I can use my trick. Look at my number in ones place. That number is a 6. If I have 6 students, will everyone have a partner? They sure will, so 26 is an even number. Good job. So what you're going to do today, if you look at your directions, is you're going to do an activity that is called odd and even numbers. You're going to have someone with you and you're going to look at the hundreds board and look at only the numbers from 30 to 50. I want you to put a counter on the numbers from 30 to 50 that are even numbers, just the even numbers. Go ahead and do that now. Great job. So I want you to look at your hundreds board. If you did it the way that I did it, and I'm sure you did, let's go over our numbers that we have covered. 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, and 50. Now you may or may not have covered 30 and 50, and that's okay. Looking at your number board, your hundreds board, do you notice a pattern? Do you notice anything that the numbers have in common? Or how are they similar? So think about those things. A hundreds board is a great tool for looking at patterns. I notice a pattern that most of my numbers are in the same column. Not row, but column. I always think of a column if I'm sitting in a bus and I look in front of me, that's a column. If I'm sitting in a bus and I look at the row I'm in, that's a row. So if you look at 32 and 42, they're in the same column. Those are both even numbers. 34 and 44 are both even numbers. 36 and 46, even numbers. So the numbers, the even numbers, are in the same column. Do you think if I went above this and below it, the same thing would happen in the same column? You're absolutely right. The even numbers follow in the same column. It's a pattern. Now, what I want you to do to challenge yourself is to go ahead and do the odd numbers. But before you do that, make a prediction. Do you think they're going to be in the same column? Or will they be in different columns? Will they make their own pattern in a different column? Those are some things I want you to think about. Good job. It was very similar, wasn't it? Okay, so we've covered even and odd numbers. Now, what you can do is you can either quiz a parent or quiz someone else. Give them the hundreds board, call out a number, and tell them to tell you if it's even or odd. Remember, if you need to give them a little hint, tell them to think of when you pair up and you have a big group, does everyone have a partner? That means, will there be equal groups? And then is that number even or odd? We're going to move to the second activity that is actually on your paper, and this is called rounding up to the nearest 10. So we're either going to round up or down. Now, I'm sure you've heard these words before too in your classroom. So when you round a number to the nearest 10, you're trying to get to the 10 before it or the 10 after it the quickest. And how would you do that? So let's just do a quick review. So if I look again at my hundreds board and I put my finger on a number, I'm on 42. So if I want to go to the nearest 10, I'm going to look, my 10s are all in the same column, right? So 42, am I closest? If I have to get there really, really quick, would it be quicker to go just bat 41 and 40? Or would I want to go through all these numbers to get to 50? I'm going to round down to 40, obviously, to get to the quickest 10. Let's try that again. What if I put my finger on 67? Again, I'm going between, am I going to want to travel back to this 60? Or am I going to want to round up to 70? So I'm going to go up to the 70. Now in this activity, what you're going to do is you're going to have your parents or someone else call out a number. Now, again, if you're by yourself like me today, you're just going to take your finger and point to a number. All right. So if you're working on these alone and someone's in the other room and they're kind of busy, just go ahead and do it yourself. So close your eyes, pick a number. I got 55. Ooh, this is a tricky one because I'm 55 and something that ends in a 5 in the ones place, it's just as easy to go backwards as it is forwards. In this case, and I know you remember this from the classroom, when it ends in that 5, you're going to round up. So 55 is going to go to 60. There are a lot of different things that we can do with our hundreds board. And the next couple videos that you see, I'm going to go over some of the other activities that are in your kit. Now, I want you to think about a couple things. Why would we need to know even and odd numbers? What is the purpose? Why do we have to learn this? I always kind of think of that myself. So here's one reason, and I already gave it to you. If you're pairing up people, you want to make sure, and you're doing a partner activity, you have to figure out, do I have an even number? Do I have an odd number? What if you have like a bag of M&Ms and you want to share it with your friend and you want to share it equally? You'll figure out whether you have an odd or an even number when you do one for me, one for you, one for you, one for me, one for me, one for you, so on and so on. And then either you'll end up with the same amount or there's going to be an odd man out. Also, you might decide when you learn to divide. That's when you're really going to need to know if it's an even or an odd number. Is it going to divide equally into groups or not equally? And that's coming up down the road. I hope you enjoyed today's activities. Go ahead and play them, and then when you come back, we'll do some more fun activities with our hundreds boards.